This is a VEKA PR podcast.
Every customer wants you to know that you're the expert in their field and that you care at every single point. 5 whys. If you get to the 4th why and you can't answer the 5th why, it's not happening then, is it? Marketing can only influence. The sales team are out on the front line making those sales, and ultimately they're not even making the sales. The fabricator's making the sales. We've got strategies in place. We've thought of the bigger picture first. Because I think what's really easy for a team to do, especially a marketing team, is just go straight to tactical.
Hello and welcome back to PR in the Real World, the podcast for PR professionals and those working in agencies who want practical insights that they can actually use from the people who've been there and done it. I'm your host, Tony Garner from VEKA, who are the newly crowned UK Small Consultancy of the Year. Thanks, CIPR. And today I'm joined by Jess Cooper, who's going to share her expertise on B2B comms and marketing. Now, it's fair to say that Jess has been on quite a journey. From unpaid apprenticeships and music PR for the likes of Calvin Harris and Swedish House Mafia, she's now heading up brand, product and internal comms for a 400 plus employee manufacturing business. Jess is someone who's walked the walk and she tells things straight, which is exactly how we like it. Today she's the marketing director at VEKA UK, which is one of the leading PVCU suppliers in the UK and global name in the fenestration world. So we're going to dig deep into how she's built the marketing function. She's going to talk about why brand isn't fluff, but actually real world tools that can help other companies within her sphere, and how the VEKA team is using research and digital transformation to change its way of storytelling so that it can support its work. So for anyone working across B2B sectors or just trying to bridge the gap between agency and internal, or between tactics and strategy, this is a masterclass in making marketing mean more. Let's hear from Jess. So Jess, thanks for coming down.
Welcome, thanks for having me.
So you're the marketing director at VEKA here in the UK, and that's part of a big global fenestration empire, 50 subsidiaries across the globe. But you actually started life in a different sphere. You have a degree in music management and started in social media managing for emerging artists. Tell us about that world and the differences between that and where you are today.
Yes, quite the difference. Basically, I went to university in Buckinghamshire because I wanted to get as far away from Burnley as possible. Not for any detriment to Burnley, I love it, I live here. And one of the courses that I was looking at was music management, and my dad was a musician back in the day, so it's kind of in my family. I can't play or sing anything, so don't ask me to. I just got really into it. Loved the course, and at that time, when I was doing the degree, my best friend's brother-in-law was setting up a social media music agency for artists. Now, this is before Facebook, so wow. It's big. Facebook was just starting, so it was there. So it was all Reddit and blogs and MySpace and everything like that. So being my best friend, whenever I came up, I managed to speak to them and had a really good relationship. And straight out of uni, I was really, really lucky that they offered me a free, non-paid apprenticeship with them in Leeds. So off I trotted every Monday to Thursday to Leeds, and then worked at JT Lloyd's in Burnley over the weekends to pay to do it. It was Calvin Harris, Swedish House Mafia, I can't. There were loads of DJs. Really, really lucky, and essentially just trawling through blog sites, getting emails, adding them to our subscribers, and pushing out their social comms. So it was good. It was exciting for a 21-year-old fresh out of uni to have that opportunity.
I was going to say it must have been exciting to be around those different people and also to be kind of learning your craft in an exciting environment like that.
Yeah, I think, there were elements that weren't so exciting, like just being sat at your laptop for 7 hours a day, literally trawling through email addresses and blogs and things like that. But then the brilliant bits where I got to go to all the gigs, I got to go backstage, I got to take my friends with me, and everything a 21-year-old who was into house music wanted, really.
So tell us about how did that develop and what made you make the step into the kind of corporate world? So
I did that for a couple of years, loved it, but then it was quite low paid. It was in Leeds. I'd met a partner, my boyfriend at that time, and I just needed that next step. I didn't know what my progression would be in that role. It was a very small business, so there wasn't that leveling up to be able to do. So I moved to an SEO agency in Burnley and worked there for a couple of years and learned search engine optimization. As it was back then, was literally the basics of SEO. I can get you onto page one of Google. That means you'll get loads of leads and make loads of money. Learned it at the start of which SEO came out. Again, early adopters with the agency, so I was able to learn right as it was coming into play.
Tell us how the journey from there into VEKA, how did that happen?
So I left that agency and moved to an agency called A&P in Preston, who were a multi-channel agency, worked in the house building sector, worked for Redrow, Elan Homes, Rowland Homes, doing all their marketing, for, like full suite, so not just digital anymore, moving into print, video, everything. And then worked my way up in that company to an account director, of which got VEKA as one of my clients. So built a really strong relationship with the team at the time, and then an opportunity came up for a maternity cover role that I really loved VEKA. I really, it was local. It was a fun place to work. It had 2:30 finishes. It was that step into internal life that I had done agency my entire career and thought, what's this like? I want to see what it's like while I still can. While I had no children, no house, no responsibility. So I did, and never looked back, to be honest.
So what did you find from the differences point of view, and what did you enjoy about that new challenge of being client side? So
I think the client side element, I mean, the most obvious things is you're in control, aren't you? You're in control of your budget, you're in control of your assets, you're on the other side of the coin, your agency, so you're beholden to the client's attitude, mood, desires, needs. They can pull something like that, they can up something like this. It's quite a roller coaster of emotions at any given time. And it is the same in internal world, because the pressures are actually potentially more demanding in some ways. The book ends with you, if you're a good marketing manager or director. I think the differences are that it's that responsibility and empowerment that you have in getting that end goal delivered. So with agency, you are part of a puzzle. So your PR is part of a wider strategy of our marketing strategy. And as an agency, you probably can only ever be involved in certain parts of that. Whereas when you're on the internal side, you're owning that full thing. Like you've got that start to finish. We nailed that, or we didn't nail that, and we need to do better. But it's that full journey of it that's what I enjoy about being on that side.
Tell us about VEKA and your role specifically within that, and because some listeners will be really familiar with it, and others will be, they might have heard the name but not quite sure what it does.
Yeah, so we are a fenestration business, and fenestration is a very industry word, but we are a window and door business essentially. So we don't make windows and doors, we make the sticks of plastic, PVCU profile, that get turned then into windows and doors by our fabricators. So we do that on a mass scale. We've got over 160 customers. As you said, we're global with over 50 subsidiaries across the world. We're the leading supplier of PVCU systems in the UK.
And what's your role as marketing director? Do you cover all comms? Do you cover internal as well as external? And that's the case, how big's the internal footprint?
Yeah, so we are all comms. Product also sits under me as well. So we've got obviously our fabricator customers, which are our direct customers. So we support them in their communication, in their marketing, because ultimately we want them to sell our product. We've also got your installers that we want to push our marketing to. We don't really touch on homeowners, just because, again, we're right at the top of the chain, but there's still that brand awareness that needs to be had and that work that needs to be done. In terms of internal, VEKA, there are about 420 employees at VEKA, and then we have our VEKA Recycling down in Wellingborough. There's got slightly less employees there, but we cover all of that. So from an internal comms perspective, we need to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our internal customers, to make sure that they feel empowered, knowledgeable, communicated with. The HR team do a lot of really good work in making sure that we retain good people, and one of our 5 keys is to retain talent and grow talent. And as part of the internal comms marketing plans, we absolutely support that. And I think internal comms can sometimes be pushed to the side or seen as not as important. But these are the people who make the factory go. So we have to make sure that we're providing that service to them. They are our key customers at the end of the day.
How do you look at those early kind of experiences in the music industry and the agency side and draw on them in your current role at all?
It's interesting. I mean, it's 20 years ago, but yeah, I think it was a very different. It gave me a really good insight into being thrown into the deep end. My personality type isn't something to shy away from challenges. So when I first started, it was right, go to this gig, speak to Calvin Harris, get his social media plans and whatever he needs to do. So it gave me that drive and that confidence to be able to just kind of walk into any room of any type of stakeholder and just own it. Ask the questions, not be scared. And, everyone's there probably for the same reason. Everyone's got the same hang-ups and fears as everyone else. So I wouldn't say there's anything tangible to take away from, well, I learned this there, so therefore I'm now doing this. It's those life skills that you develop by putting yourself out there and taking those risks. And I think, like I said, I didn't work. I wasn't paid for a year. I literally grafted in every other job I could find to fund myself to get to Leeds. And I think I've got my daughter myself, and I'd want her to have that same work ethic, and that work ethic's shone throughout my career and the peers that I've worked with. You look at that. Well, what are you willing to give to get to where you want to be? And I think that's what I've taken through from it. And then the people that I worked with who set the business up were entrepreneurs. They were, innovators. They were leaders, and they still are to this day. And that the passion that they have in creating blog posts and social media in a world where there was just MySpace and Facebook and everyone was kind of like, what are you doing? For them to drive through just gave that inspiration. So I'm really lucky to have worked with really people throughout my career that have all added value to me.
And you talked before about working agency side. What did you learn in that part of your career that lives with you now, whether it's technical skills or that kind of like that drive and just the characteristics of?
Yeah, I mean, spinning plates, as we spoke about earlier, is always one that you can do. I think the relationship management, because when I was in the agency, it wasn't just marketing. I was doing sales. I had my own targets. I had my own, team. I had to deliver. So it was a case of, yes, applying my skills that I developed in marketing, understanding digital marketing and all the types and being the expert in that field, but also having the ability to switch up. So, one day I was talking about new house builders and selling a house. The next it was windows. The next it was gluten-free food. And it's being able to switch in because every customer wants you to know that you're the expert in their field and that you care. Yeah. And I think that
that you're only interested in their world.
I am only interested in your gluten-free cookies. I have no interest in anything else in the world. I want to know what you're doing. And I think that personable approach of making someone feel the most important person in the room is really key in any role, in any business. But in marketing, why would I want to spend my money with you if you're scratching the surface at what my product is? I want you to know everything about it. I want you to know, hopefully, as much as I know, to then be able to guide me in the right direction, because I'm the expert in my field, but you're the expert in marketing. So what channels can you pull upon? And just the biggest takeaway from A&P, who were fantastic and helped me develop my career, is really, really know your customer, to be able to tailor that marketing approach to them, because it's not one size fits all. And I think many agencies fall down with a one-size-fits-all approach because it just doesn't work.
That's an interesting segue into my next question, really. In your current role, you will be working with a number of different agencies, and you've seen it from both sides now. So what do you look for from when you're creating those agency relationships? And I have to be really careful here. For public honesty, VEKA is one of our clients, and we have a client-supplier relationship going on here as well. But what do you look for in an agency?
Well, I'm pleased to say that we because I've been on agency side, we don't change agencies often. If we're in bed with someone, then it's a long-term partnership, and I hope that you do feel that. What I'd look for when we've had agencies pitched to us in the past is, again, it's that knows. Take the time to know we don't sell windows and doors. Take the time to know of what our pain points are, what we need. There's enough. There's Google, there's ChatGPT, there are enough tools out there for you to come in and maybe like, wow, well, how did you know that? I didn't know that. So for me, it's that personalised approach to us. And then, for me, I also don't like when, you roll out the big boys. So you roll out the big boys for the initial meetings, and then you get trickled down the chain to people who are equally as good and equally as skilled, but just show us who you are at the start, show us what we're going to get, introduce those people at that time so that we can build those bonds and form those relationships, because there's nothing worse than feeling like they've gone in all guns blazing because they're going to give them, £10,000 a month, and then suddenly when they realise it's a £2,000 a month account, suddenly that then trickles down. And we've all been there. You're all businesses. Everyone's a business. So we completely get it that you need to make adjustments and make money at the end of the day. But I think that's one thing that's a little bit of a bugbear. But then that just transparency and honesty. And, I've made mistakes in this role and in previous roles where it's, decisions are made in isolation and full context isn't given as to why decisions are made. And it's really hard as an agency to then take that on the chin or pivot or whatever it might be, because there's so many conversations happening internally that when I was agency, didn't realise, didn't have an awareness of, didn't think happened. But actually, it's not a case of, well, the MD said this. And that's certainly not the case in VEKA, because we're all empowered to make the right decisions. Like I said, the buck stops with me. If it's my decision, right or wrong. But it's giving that context to that decision to the best of your ability, because there are some things that can't be shared, but then there are some things that need that information. So it's that transparency both ways to create that lasting relationship.
It is about that kind of relationship building, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like you say, with the best will in the world, as agency MD, I can't be across every single account that we've got, and it would be dishonest for me to promise that at every occasion. But people do want to see the whites of my eyes, so it is hard to sometimes get that balance right.
And I think it's because we have that within our industry where it's it's hard when it's peer-to-peer. So our business our BDMs, they are our outward sales team. They are the people that are talking to our customers on a day-to-day basis, but they're talking to MDs and business owners because we deal with SMEs the majority of the time. So the business owners then want to see Neil Evans, our MD's whites of his eyes, or Tim Taylor, our commercial director or our ops director. They're running a $1 million organisation, so it's the same level, absolutely. But you've got to empower our sales teams to be those decision makers and have that ownership of them. And it's hard because it's same with agency. You're an agency owner. We're one of many clients that you've got. So it's my team that run it with your team. You're the people doing the do and making those decisions. So though it's great quarterly to have a sit down and just chat, chew the fat about what's going on in the industry and making sure everything's good and have that. But I don't feel that I need to do that with our agencies on a regular basis because I trust the teams that are there. Yeah. But I think it is a seniority, a bit of I'm an MD, so I need the MD kind of thing sometimes that is quite wrong. It's a real hard balance to find because you don't want to shy away and no one ever sees the MD ever. No. And then you roll out, it's only because it's a serious problem, which is never a good thing. No. But on a flip side, you are running the business. So it's not just... it's a big job.
Talk to us about the footprint that you've got. I mean, you talked about moving away from Burnley, but then loving the place and you live and work there now. Yeah. But VEKA has an enormous kind of footprint within the town. It's one of the biggest employers, and you seem to give back quite a lot as well. And how does your role touch on that side of things?
Yeah, so our MD, Neil, is a Burnley bondholder. He's the chair of the Burnley bondholders, so has a real touch point with all other bondholders within the local area. He's always out and about kind of supporting that, and we in turn as a business support it. That gives exposure and it allows us to work with local agencies as well. So we're very keen when working in the community to make sure we buy locally first in every area that we work with.
Let's delve a little bit deeper into the mysterious world of fenestration. And tell me about some of the kind of unique challenges that world brings.
I think that because I started in the fenestration industry about 10 years ago, I'd like to say lots has changed, but really nothing's much changed. It is getting... It's a great industry. I adore it. From a marketing perspective, it is coming along. So we're having to adapt our styles to meet homeowners' needs. And by that, as I said before, we don't deal with the homeowner directly, but we do offer tools and services to our customers to allow them to create that homeowner pull. I think that what we find with installers is it's still an installer decision game. So you would you were getting your windows done and you say, oh, I really like, grey, because you don't know the name of, you don't know it's anthracite grey, you don't know it's fine structure grey, like, you don't know. So you go to your installer and you take their word for it because they are the experts, they're the ones fitting it. And what they're doing is potentially looking at what they can get the highest margin on, the quickest installation on, the fastest turnaround time, because they're running a business and they need to do quick, fast and best. We need to influence the installer in the VEKA's the right product because it's the right quality and we provide the right delivery times, we provide the right support and, reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. And I think that the shift from VEKA in the 10 years has been that. It's been exposure to the installer, not missing out the fabricator because they are our core customer, but providing the support to the fabricators to then provide it to the installer. Now, it used to be that, you get a branded brochure and we'll put your logo on it and off you tottle and there you go. And that's what Mrs. Smith wants. Now, it's very much of the IKEA where you can put your sofa in the living room. I want to hold an iPad up and I want to see the colours that my windows could be. I want to see the different types of windows they can be. So we're building digital tools like that to support. We've got VEKA Edge, which is our marketing portal where they can literally buy assets online or get them for free with credits. So in there you've got social media assets, which is new this year. We didn't do that before. Videos, which is new, we didn't do before, as well as your point of sale for showroom. So we're expanding into that digital world by providing assets and solutions to our customers to allow them to provide it to their customers. Getting people onto the portal at the start was difficult, getting people to log in and use it, but with training, people are getting more and more into that. I think COVID really, as bad as it was, really helped with that digital transformation of our industry. We've wasted a lot of time and resource driving around the country, going to customers, whereas now Teams calls are equally as good, it's fine. And it pushed everyone down that digital route. I mean, when I was at VEKA only 4 or 5 years ago, we were still getting orders through fax.
Wow. Yeah. I'll explain to producer Dan afterwards what a fax
machine is. We've turned that off now, thankfully. But that's how slow our industry was to change and adapt to digital tools. So we're absolutely getting there, and it's not to do a disservice to our industry at all. We have got some incredibly intelligent, entrepreneurial, fantastic businesses and business owners and people within our industry. It's just the case of, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And I think that's the mentality maybe of, I've always done it this way. I've always sold to Mrs. Jones this way, and therefore it works. But it's just adding new tools in so that when someone is ready for AI or is ready for something else, we're there and we're at the front foot. Yeah. And that's where we want to be. We want to be pioneers in that rather than catching up.
Yeah, and you're going to have some frustrations along the way because you've got to do that education piece.
Yeah, as part of our industry, there's U values and all different kind of technical calculations that you need that I won't go into, that you have to have when fitting and installing and fabricating a window. Now, that used to be a spreadsheet that was on one of our technical team's computers where someone would bring up and say, right, these are my measurements. We put it into the spreadsheet and spit it out. Very basic.
Yeah.
Now we have a full window plan tool that is being created by our counterparts in Germany that is self-serve, that's got 3D renders that you can pull off, that saves so much time and resource for not just us, but for the businesses involved. That was huge development for us to do, but it is industry leading. So if we find the pain points of what's taking our fabricators the longest time to do, what makes their day harder, and it's looking at those things and thinking, right, we can help with that because we've got this tool, or we can make that slicker by doing this, or we can change our process to make your process quicker. Ultimately, as the top of the chain supplier, we want to make everyone's life in that chain easier, slicker, and more efficient, so that they can make more money, do it faster, because that will then grow our revenue. So, I think as a business and as a marketing team, our perception of, we're just going to give them a brochure and that's fine. They should just be able to sell our product. No. We need to give them every single reason, rationale and everything to allow them to sell our product, because that's on us. We need to make that happen for them.
So how do you measure success then? Is it purely looking at like the bottom line or the sales charts, or align into that, or are there other measures that you put in there along the chain?
I mean, as a business, if you ask different people who have different answers, obviously, savings. Obviously, I mean, we're in a commercial team as a marketing team, and I'm from a commercial background, so it's top line growth.
Yeah.
Marketing can only influence that. the sales team are out on the front line making those sales, and ultimately they're not even making the sales, the fabricator's making the sales. Yeah. So it really is quite difficult to ask, but we measure those figures. But in terms of those more granular KPIs, what you're looking at on social media are your standard ones like your engagement, your uplift. We're looking at the commercial sector now, so what's our increase in architects and specifiers to the liking of our LinkedIn page or whatever that might be. On a tactical level, we're doing press ads. So, we're adding the QR codes on to scan, to fill in a form, to get a pack that's an installer pack. How many have we sent out? Success looks like, for me, sales and marketing and every other department alignment in heading to that end goal. We could easily run off and do as many times I've done in the past with other businesses, and many people will run off and just do our own campaign that serves our own purpose, that makes us look fantastic, that I can go home and go, well done team, and have myself a nice glass of Sauvignon Blanc. But if we're not aligned to what the business is doing, what the sales team are doing specifically, then we've not won anything, have we? There's no success. So with our latest product launch, OMNIA, we created assets, we created sales stories, we created packs for fabricators. We looked down the whole chain of what's going to sell this product. Now, long term it's a long-term sell, but the feedback that we're receiving is, I've got everything I need. I have everything I need to sell that product. So me, that's a success of a marketing campaign, but it's remiss of me to just say, right, well, I've been successful because I'm the business. So therefore, the business needs to be successful. But yeah, those small wins in your marketing team are big wins. So
when you're faced with a big product launch like that, and you've got it's a major investment, I should imagine. What kind of factors do you prioritise? What's in your thinking when you're coming up with something like that?
From a marketing perspective,
yeah.
The level of investment's big. So you've got to look at what the marketing spend is and ultimately return on investment. I think the way that I've been challenged by my board and I now challenge myself and my team to look is, you can create a really amazing strapline, can't you, and a really amazing campaign. You think, oh gosh, that's fantastic. I love that. Yeah. But I am not a fabricator and I am not an installer. So we have to really pull that back of, well, is that going to resonate with Dave, who's been installing Windows for 20 years and doesn't like fluffy words and just wants to know, how am I going to sell it? What's it going to bring me? How much does it cost? How quick is it to install? So when we're looking at specific product launches, it's what's going to resonate at every point to allow us then to create that tactical activity and channels to pull through. And at every single point, 5 whys. Why? If you get to the 4th why and you can't answer the 5th why, it's not happening then, is it? It's challenging and it's hard. And I was on a call with my colleague today, and we're creating a sales guide of all our products, and we said, right, okay, so it's double rebate. So what? Yeah. Well, that means it does this. Well, so what? That means it does this. Well, so what? And I could hear the frustration in her voice, and she's like, I'm telling you why. I'm like, but so what? Yeah. In the end, it was, we had the so what, and I'm like, we've got there, and I can feel the frustration of my team, but we have to, because without the so what, why are we doing it? Without the so what, it's a really sexy, gorgeous campaign, which we've done in the past that have worked well, but it's a moment in time. Yeah. And I think with a level of investment that we're putting into product and innovation, and the level of investment we're putting into marketing, that's where you get questioned on your ROI. That's where when I'm presenting to the board and they're saying, well, Jess, you spent 200,000 on this marketing launch. What's it delivered? And I can say, well, this lovely brochure. And look, we did this nice video. Yeah. And they'll all go, yeah, really lovely that, Jess. But what's it delivered? Yeah. So I'm painfully aware that that's how our sales and marketing has to be completely lined up, because the investment in that is now right. The sales have to deliver. So what we do as well with big product launches to high investment is we involve our customers. Too many chefs can very much spoil the broth. But if we've got something to a point that we're like, okay, yeah, we're on with that, with our key customers, we'll kind of go to them and say, look, we've got this piece of literature and we believe we've answered all the questions, but you're the expert. You're the expert. So you tell me what you think and give me some feedback. They feel so bought in because they're like, again, feeling loved, feeling, you're making them feel like the best person in the room and the only person you want to talk to. And they're, oh yeah, thanks so much for asking me to do that. And well, yeah, it's great. A build would be this, or there's no builds, or that's terrible, Jess. But not we've had that yet. But giving them that insight at the level at which we need to and at the point of time we want to allows us to then get them completely on board with it.
Yeah.
Because the work that we're doing as a marketing team is different to what we've done before. So it's that change, that subtle change across the board that actually we're pushing them in a direction that we want to go to, but it's their idea. Co-created, absolutely. And it is working. It's working really well. The relationships that we're building as a business with our customers, for me, is becoming a real true sense of the word partnership. A partnership is where two people give equal amounts in, whereas before it was VEKA give everything and I'll take everything. And that I don't believe that's the case anymore.
We talked about some of the digital changes and the way that world has changed, but what you're talking about is a more fundamental change of relationships, whereas when you came in it might have been the customer over here, the installer over there, and you sat somewhere over here and never really talking to one another, kind of understanding the pain points along the way. But
that's how we felt. I mean, we don't like we've got an understanding, like it, we definitely have, we know what we know, but we're not fitting jobs every day. We don't know how the market shifts from one month to another. We can go out on the road with them, but it's a moment in time that we're seeing them have a really good customer that's there, that's fitting our products in and it goes really well, but the next job might be god awful and it might have gone in terribly and the customer might be really disappointed or whatever it might be, but we don't know unless we ask. So I think asking those questions, doing that research is something that's going to be a big shift in the latter half of this year. We dip our toe, we understand it's a hard thing to get in our industry. There's not lots and lots of it about, so we're working. Jess is our brand and research manager, so a big part of the latter half of the year for her will be focusing on that research part to drive what we're doing, drive our messages and drive what we need. And that is a case of doing top level research about the industry and the wider world and how that impacts global warming. Do we need shutters on windows now? We have shutters in Europe so that keep warmth out and keep houses cool. Why can't we do that here? We just need to adapt it for our window types. There are a lot of things that we need to look at as a bigger picture, but also continuously ask installers and fabricators, what are your pain points? What are you struggling with? What is it that you're seeing on the front line? As I mentioned before, skills shortage. I don't know if I did mention, but skills shortage is huge in our industry. Not everyone wants to come and be a window and door installer or a fabricator or even work at VEKA. You want to be an influencer or working. My niece is 15 and she's like, I want to go into marketing. I'm like, amazing. She's like, fashion marketing. I'm like, oh yeah, there you go. That you'll end up at VEKA, don't worry. So it's understanding that if we've not got people coming into the industry, where does the industry go? What happens? Who's installing windows? Because AI can't do it just yet. How can we get people hooked into to want to do this? Which is a big question mark at the minute over our industry. It's a big worrying question mark in our industry at the minute.
I saw a list of 220 odd jobs that will disappear because of AI, and the number one was high risk and 221 very low risk, and down there was roofers and window fitters. And your so what questions, it just took me back to our editor at the evening paper that I worked at many moons ago, and that was his kind of like go-to question for any story that were pitched for that day's paper.
Oh, it's not
it had to pass that so what test.
Yeah, someone else in my career said he called it the mum test. And I got so mad. I was like, I don't know what your mum knows.
So, what are the biggest challenges you face convincing different stakeholders about the value of introducing a new marketing initiative?
Everyone thinks they know best, don't they? I think I'm very lucky within VEKA that the trust is put in the team. They've employed us to be the experts. So as long as we've got that so what and that rationale, we are very much empowered to just do it then. You know best. And as long as we feed upwards and we have the right metrics in place, it's a real fantastic company in that way. Convincing other stakeholders in terms of our customers. So marketing's really hard because everyone's got an opinion on it.
Yeah.
A price is a price. Everyone's got an opinion, but it's a price. It's a figure. Whereas marketing, that ad could look wonderful to me, or that digital, banner or whatever it is, but someone else will be like, that font's awful. I just can't stand it. And that colour, why have you used that? And you can get into a place, and I've been there before at VEKA, where you just get too far in and it's impossible to get out of it because, like you said, that's our brand guidelines. That's what we've decided. That's why it works. That's what's happening. Trust that we're doing. But again, it's the sharing piece, and it's back to what we said about the customers. I'm not asking for your opinion on what colour it is. I'm asking of the context. Does that resonate with you? Does that make sense? Do you believe in it? Because don't worry, if you trust me that I'm going to do my job well, which it's all about building trust, that colour will work. Don't worry about it. But it's getting the buy-in at the early stage. And I think what did we call it? The shock and awe doesn't work.
No.
It's surprise and delight. Doesn't work. No one wants to be surprised and delighted. So it's a case of just sharing those, a couple of stages, just being like, just working on this. What are your thoughts so far? Because it's not a surprise then. And, we've done it on many occasions. And I think if you've built the relationships with the key stakeholders externally and internally, to have that, even as a person, as a team, and as a human being, criticism's hard to take. It's incredibly hard to take when you've worked so hard on something and someone just rips it apart within a second. But if you know it's with the best intentions that someone's telling you about, and it's even, on personal feedback for PDPs and for growth of you, I had some recently, and it's like everything that everyone's saying is to better you or to better that piece of work. No one's looking at something in our business, or shouldn't be looking at something in our business or industry and saying, nah, I just don't like it. Why? I just don't. We don't have anyone at a level that would ever do that. It's all for the greater good. And I think in the relationships with our partners, when we're sharing it with them, it's for that reason. And we're sharing it with people who have that mutual respect. The sharing piece is really, really important, and bringing people on the journey with you. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, it just makes everything easier, because suddenly you've created a piece of work that isn't just your brain and what you think is right. You've got stakeholders that believe and back it, because they were part of that journey. So if someone at some point says, we've got so many assets and ads and everything at the moment going out on multiple channels that are, like I said, multiple plates spinning. But if I've got a sales team that have seen it before the customer's seen it, and someone's gone, that ad that Jess did, what was she thinking? And they go, oh no, this is why, and I really back Jess on it. And they'll go, oh yeah, all right then. As soon as someone doesn't join in the gossip and the nastiness with you, it gets shut down. And as a team of people and as a board, we have that backing, we have that trust in each other to deliver. And that's why I adore working at VEKA, because it's that safety, that security, and that trust that hopefully everyone else at VEKA feels, that we're doing the right thing because we're asking the right people at the right times.
Moving on then, these days you've got a team working for you and you're managing a team, and I just wanted to ask you about how that works and how you make sure that you empower them but also direct them. And how does it feel to be that person?
Imposter syndrome, like a million times over, genuinely. In answer to the question about empowering the manager, I'd like to hope that they feel empowered. I know that you know yourself, it's really easy for you to go back into that detail and be like, oh, actually, that word is this, or that budget needs to be spent there, or because you care and you want it to be right. And, it's really hard to pull yourself out and delegate and think of the bigger picture. So I'm learning curves. I'm not saying I do it perfectly. I definitely don't. But the team around me, the team that I've employed, I've picked them. I will die on those swords, because I think they're wonderful people and they're doing a fantastic job. And I've just released the budget. I'm like, right, that's the budget we've got left for the year. It's yours. The strategies are set. We've developed the strategies together. This is what we need to achieve. And I think as long as there's clarity and direction, and they feel that they've got that clarity and direction, and also feel that they can come and ask me or whoever they need to ask of a sense check. It's never a right, go, that's the budget you've got, they're the objectives, do it, and don't come to me until you've done it. And if you fail, P45 please. It's that's the strategy, that's the budget, doors open. If you want to sense check something with me, I sense check with my boss all the time. You just need that sounding board. And I think hopefully I am that sounding board, and some comments on this post saying absolutely not. But everyone's working together. Everyone's working to better themselves to be that. And there are things I could definitely pull out of, but it's that learning curve to try. For context, I was at VEKA and then I left for 2 years to work at an agency in Manchester, which was amazing, and I learned so much and applied that back to VEKA, because I leveled up there and came in at the same level, so it's wonderful. So when I started back last year, I probably was guilty of being in that detail. You know, we had a partner event, and I was in every name badge, menu, like silly. It killed me off, and I don't think the team felt empowered, and I think they probably struggled, to be honest. Whereas this year, we've got strategies in place. We've thought of the bigger picture first. Because I think what's really easy for a team to do, especially a marketing team, is just go straight to tactical, straight to, right, well, we need SEO, we need to do some paid ads, we need to do this, we need to do that. And it's like, whoa, why, 1 second? And I know that the team, we had a strategy meeting last week, and we kind of pulled up and said, right, these are the products we want to go for. This is what we're aiming for these different audience types. And I think we all left in, clarity. I know what it is that we're trying to do. And it's pulling that back maybe every quarter to realign and make sure we're on track, or we're not on track, or the business needs have changed, or whatever that might be. We can't account for what's going to happen in the world. So for me, I still do find it hard to get out of that detail, but I'm still on my journey of becoming the best version of myself. So, you know, with the right guidance and support from my peers and people above me, absolutely we'll get there. But if you're passionate and you care, RMD's guilty of it. I've had to prize PR releases from his hands. We've probably like, no, Neil, it's not for you to read, but he cares. So, you know, and that's where the sharing comes into it. If you share, that buy-in's there.
We've talked about the landscape and how it's changing. We've talked about AI and so on. What do you think's on the horizon for your industry, or have you pushed the boundaries as far as you possibly can at the minute?
It's a big topic of conversation at the minute, because obviously OMNIA is our latest innovation that was high investment, and it's doing wonderfully well. But it's a window and a door. So there's only so much you can do with a window and a door, or the PVC that makes a window and a door. So we're constantly looking at what improvements can be made. And I think my thoughts on this are continuous improvement rather than full new innovation. So what's the next thing that will evolve? Like AI, you know, it's an evolution that comes through it. But I think from a marketing and from an industry perspective, in terms of where we can go into, like, you know, why can't we be an Amazon-style digital solution? So, you know, I read a piece once that London Underground had huge complaints rates because, you know, the trains didn't come quick enough. I didn't know when they were, and they didn't change the speed or frequency of the trains. They just put when the train was going to come. So they just put 2 minutes, 3 minutes. The complaints dropped by like over 50%. And I think that what we need to think about is, so what are the biggest pain points of our customers? Well, from an installer, it's, gosh, I've got an order come through from you and I've committed to 2 weeks. I need to make sure that order's going to come in. So all the way up the chain, we're the start of that. So if you've got someone that's waiting on a job, we have different lead times for different product types. And you can go onto your app and you can say, right, my VEKA delivery, right, I can track it like Amazon, and I can see it's going to be there between 2 and 4. Oh my gosh, there's been a massive crash on the M6. I know it's going to be delayed. It's information sharing. Yeah. So if you know when it's going to come, it's different for our industry. We've not done that before. It's not new. So everyone's doing it. But how can we apply the things that have eased pain points for other people in other industries into ours? So it's less so of, I'm going to say that, what we're going to do is we're going to create a brand new door that actually is like a spaceship and does this. It's more about those service improvements that mean that we are the leader in PVCU profile. We're confident in saying that. We have a fantastic product. In service, we level up every single time. So what's our next level up to make sure that as a fabricator, you've got a kind of one-stop shop where you can, all your customer service, if there is a complaint, it's there. You can see where it is in the resolutions process, how it's going to be fixed, what's your tracking on your next delivery, what's the latest update from RMD, what's this, like...
Yeah, the whole
package, because... Like I said, in COVID, everyone went online. So everyone orders online. Everyone's used to it now. That there's not one of our customers that doesn't know how to work their mobile phone. There's not one. So if you're using Amazon and using other tools like that, you're used to it. So actually the training and development isn't there for you. It's just the software creation and the development for us as to what is it that we want. So for me, for VEKA, I would lean into our next big piece being true service excellence, but with the so what, because that's heavy investment in development there for someone to say, I get my deliveries weekly. I know when they come, Jess. I'm fine with that. I trust you. I trust your drivers. Don't worry. All good. Because our industry's very built on trust and relationships because it's business owners. So, though it's a huge industry, it's actually quite small in terms of that relationships and nature. But people are leaving. The owners of our fabricator customers are, with the greatest respect, at an age where they would retire, and they've got successful businesses. So if they wanted to, probably could retire. Who's the next generation coming in that are used to everything at the click of a finger and wanting it there? That's what we've got to think of next. Not that Dave's been there for 30 years and that's what he likes and that's what he knows, and he's got a relationship with Howard, who's our transportation manager, head of transportation and warehouse, who Howard will retire, Dave will retire. What then?
Yeah.
And that's the next step for us of what we've got to think about.
Excellent. Well, it's been a fascinating conversation. I just wondered, before we wrap up, what kind of advice would you give yourself looking back? If that 21-year-old Jess who was getting the training to Leeds every day and thinking about where you've got to now, what advice would you give that 21-year-old?
Slow down, but not slow down in the pace of which ambition, but just slow down in the way you talk, in the just slow down. I think don't put too much pressure on yourself. And I still do that to this day. I have high stress levels that I struggle to manage because I am a mum, I'm a wife, I'm a marketing director, and every goal and ambition that, every next level is put on by myself. And right now in the way I'm at is with my career, I'm so incredibly happy. And I got here naturally, I've worked damn hard for it, but that pressure that I was applying myself on working till 10 o'clock at the agency every night or doing this or doing that, you've got to put those hard yards in, absolutely. But I didn't need to get so worked up and so stressed over things. And I think that's a learning curve for me in my career as I want to go up to the next table. And the next table is let things wash over you. It's that theory of let them being all podcast-like. It's just let them. You can only control what you can control, and you're doing a good job. And everyone at any level has got imposter syndrome. Everyone wonders, how the hell did I get here? No matter what you paid and what you do. So, just don't be too hard on myself.
Imposter syndrome all the way. But thanks, Jess. Jess Cooper, you've been an absolute star. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to PR in the Real World. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could subscribe to the podcast and leave us a quick review. Your support really helps spread the word and reach more marketing and PR professionals just like you. And don't forget to share this podcast with your colleagues or anyone who'd benefit from the insights we share. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time for more tips, strategies and real world stories from the PR frontlines.